Let's face it, there is so much going on right now in the world, in business, amongst consumers. There's just so much change and transition. And what I see are two different worlds. One is the world that most people live in, where things are really hard and people are really struggling. And then the other is a world in which, and it is a much smaller group, in which salespeople are absolutely killing it. They're crushing their sales numbers and they're closing more sales than they ever have before. There are some things that certain salespeople are doing that are allowing them to consistently and reliably close more sales. In this video, I'm going to show you 27 super quick tips to closing more sales right now. Check it out. Number one, know your ideal prospect. You have to know exactly who you're selling to, and just as importantly, who you're not selling to. If you focus all of your efforts on your ideal prospect, you are going to close more sales. Number two, be distinct. We need to stop being like all of the other salespeople out there. You are distinct when you are perceived by your prospect as unlike any other salesperson out there. So whatever your competitors are doing, do the exact opposite. Be distinct. Number three, know your process. If we're just going out there and we're winging it and we're just trying to figure it out as we go along, which so many salespeople are doing, we are going to get killed. You must know your process. You must know exactly what you're going to do, what questions you're going to ask, how you're going to engage, all of that stuff in order to close sales. Know your process. Number four, become a research ninja. Research is so key to effective selling today. We have so much more access to data than we ever have. So if you're selling to businesses, tools like LinkedIn Navigator are going to be critical to helping you understand exactly who your prospect is and how to personalize any outreach or any sales conversations. Be that research ninja. Number five, have a 5-hour sales day. Now you may say, whoa, there's like 8 or 9, 10 hours in a day in work. What are you talking about 5-hour sales day? By 5-hour sales day, I mean make sure that you are spending at least 5 hours a day actually selling. Most salespeople, when they actually tally what they're really doing, they're only spending a couple of hours a day on real sales. And I'm talking like 1 or 2 hours. The rest of it is done doing a bunch of other junk. Make sure you have at least a 5-hour sales day. Number six, schedule prospecting time. Having your prospecting time actually worked into your schedule as if it were an appointment in your calendar, it's that important, is so key. Because let's face it, it's so easy for the prospecting to just slip through the cracks. By scheduling your time for prospecting, now you are holding yourself accountable to really spending some key, uninterrupted time truly prospecting. Number seven, disqualify prospects. At least 50% of the people that you come across are not going to be a good fit at this moment for what you offer. So be willing to disqualify people that are not a fit. It doesn't mean being a jerk. It just means kindly moving on and instead focusing all of your resources and energy on the people that are truly qualified for what you offer. Number eight, stop trying to close. Your prospects don't need you to try to close them. That's super transparent. They'll see it coming from a mile away. It's going to put pressure on them and it will cause them to feel repelled. Instead, make sure you have gone through a good sales process and you understand exactly what's going on and then show that you can solve those challenges. And then there doesn't need to be some hardcore close at the end. That will inevitably happen. Number nine, drop the pitch. You can teach a monkey to pitch. A great salesperson isn't there to pitch. What they're instead there to do is demonstrate insight, engage people in conversations, and then demonstrate that they can solve challenges. That's it. The pitch fits nowhere in that conversation. Drop the pitch if you're focused on your company, yourself, or your offering in your conversations. You're in trouble. Drop the pitch. Number 10, drop the I'd like to learn more about your business. If you are trying to start conversations with prospects in emails and in phone calls saying, I'd like to learn more about your business, you are repelling prospects. Because put yourself in the shoes of a high-level prospect. Do they really want to teach you about their business? No, of course not. It is a really weak way to start that conversation. Now, you do eventually want to learn about their business and what's going on, but that's not how you start the conversation. So drop the whole, I'd love to learn more about your business kind of act. It's weak and it doesn't work. Number 11, they don't care about you. This is so important to remember, is that your prospects don't care about you. My prospects don't care about me. What they care about is solving their challenges. So don't focus on yourself, your company, or your offering, and instead focus on them. Focus on the challenges that they are looking to solve. That's all that matters. Number 12, have contingencies. Now, let's face it, nothing in life ever goes exactly as planned. And so you need to have contingencies in your sales for when the likely kind of sidetracked scenario happens. So let's say you make a prospecting call and the prospect is like, oh yeah, I don't really have time for this. What are you going to say? What is your contingency for bringing the call back on track? Because that's going to happen, right? Or you get on the phone with a prospect and like, what, you know what, why don't you just tell me your price? That's all I want to know is what's your price, right? Are you going to just cave in and give your price, or do you have a contingency for how you're going to deal with that? Have all of those contingencies prepared and lined up and ready to go. Number 13, know your questions. You must know exactly what questions you're going to be asking of your prospects. This doesn't mean that you're not going to slip in some questions or you're maybe going to skip another because they already answered it, of course. But I'm saying you must know exactly what questions you really need answered in order to determine whether you guys are a fit. So don't just wing this and just think about what questions am I going to ask. Instead, really map out exactly which questions you will be asking. Number 14, demonstrate insight. Your prospects are guarded. They aren't dying to jump on the phone with a salesperson. They don't want to get on a Zoom with a salesperson. Instead, they want to connect with people that can really bring insight to what's going on in their world or in their business. So by demonstrating some insight up front, you are going to show that you are truly an expert and can really help them. That's how you engage them in that conversation. Number 15, think like a doctor. You know, so many salespeople think like salespeople and they behave like salespeople. And the problem is that your prospects are going to be super guarded with a salesperson approach. So instead, what we want to do is think like a doctor. When you walk into a doctor's office, how are they engaging you? How are they demonstrating their expertise? Are they using a bunch of fancy buzzwords and jargon? Or are they just simply trying to understand what's going on and how they can solve the problem? Think like a doctor. Number 16, always have a next step. So many salespeople are so focused on closing the deal in that meeting. The reality is if you haven't gotten them to that point, you're unlikely to actually get them to close with anything that you say. So instead, be really focused on having very clear next steps. And particularly for people that are in more complex long-term sales, locking in every sale as a result of clear next steps. So that way there's always a calendar invite going out at the end of the meeting that you're currently in. That's how you hold sales together with clear next steps. Number 17, who cares? There are going to be some selling situations that go wrong. And you know what? It's okay. It doesn't matter if you are the best salesperson on the planet. Things are going to go wrong. The old adage of that you could sell anything to anyone is complete BS. It is total crap. There is no one on the planet that can sell anything to anyone. Instead, what you want to do is find the right people and take them through the right process. And if ultimately a couple of people slip through the cracks, that's okay. If you're worried about losing sales, you're going to be so much weaker the next time you get in front of your next prospect. Number 18, know your first 30 seconds. If I said to you, you have 30 seconds to explain what your company does and how you help people go, most people will be like, oh, and they ramble on and just say a bunch of different things that ultimately wouldn't really make much sense. So what we want to do is make sure that you know your first 30 seconds cold. You know exactly what you're going to say, how you're going to use it to engage people in that conversation, and how you're going to demonstrate some real insight. So it is tight and it's not rambling, and it's actually under 30 seconds. Because ultimately most salespeople ramble on and on and on, and they kind of just meander and they never really get to the point that they need to make. Know your first 30 seconds. Number 19, cold calling is unnecessary. Now, if you're cold calling and for some reason it's working, great, keep doing it. But for most people, cold calling, true cold calling, is totally unnecessary. Instead, what we want to do is use an entire prospecting blueprint where we're touching prospects through different mediums, right? So we're using the phone, but we're also using cold email. We're using LinkedIn or Facebook, or we're sending them packages, or we're dropping into their office. Whatever it is, we're combining all of those outreaches. So that way, by the time we actually get them on the phone, it's not even really a cold call, but it's actually a warm call. They already know who we are. That's why cold calling is unnecessary. Number 20, know your activity goals. You ever wake up in the morning and say, man, what do I have to do today to drum up some sales? If you're asking yourself that question, you're in trouble. You need to know your exact sales activity goals for every single day. You should know how many calls you're supposed to make today, how many emails you're supposed to send, how many LinkedIn outreaches you're supposed to make, everything. And so that way you just follow the plan, and you know that if you're following that plan on a daily basis, you're ultimately going to hit your sales goals. Knowing your activity goals is the key to successfully prospecting over the long term. Number 21, have a kick-ass call to action, or CTA, right? What is your call to action when you're prospecting? Are you just saying, hey, I'd love to learn more about your business? That's not going to work. Instead, you need to have a kick-ass call to action for when you get them on the phone, or for when you're sending an email, something that's really compelling. Maybe it's some kind of a brand marketing audit, or case studies, or something that's really going to grab their attention and get them to want to engage with you. If you're just trying to have a phone call, chances are you're going to be scaring off a lot of prospects that you could otherwise get to engage with you. Number 22, you're not a doormat. I think there's so many people in sales that think of themselves almost as customer service agents. Now, if you're in customer service, then if you have a cranky prospect or a cranky customer, you do have to kind of be nice, right? That's customer service 101. I think. I don't know much about customer service, but that's what I think of customer service. In sales, you are not in customer service. When someone is not a buyer, you're not a doormat. You don't have to do whatever they tell you. You don't have to answer any question that they ask. You don't have to bow down to them. You're not a doormat. You have your rights. And be willing to hold your ground if someone's being unreasonable. You are not a doormat. Number 23, have multiple options. This means having multiple options for doing business with you. If when you're going through the sales process, if ultimately you only present just one option for doing business with you, chances are you're leaving money on the table. You should always have multiple options for a prospect, because you never can fully know what's going to make the most sense for them. Now, you should have asked really good questions to generally understand where they're going to fit. But ultimately, by giving them multiple options, you're giving them actual optionality. So they're less likely to go shop around, and they're going to feel like, okay, if I choose that middle option, it's not as expensive as the really expensive option, so the middle option feels better. Or, you know what, every once in a while, you're going to sell that premium option and you're going to make a lot more money. Number 24, keep the presentation short. Even salespeople that really have a good sales process, oftentimes when they get to the presentation mode, they're just like, oh, this is my time to talk and to go and to just take control. The reality is that if your presentation is long, your prospect is going to get bored. They're going to lose interest. Instead, you want to keep the presentation really short. I want the bare minimum that shows that you can solve their challenges, and then let their questions drive the second half of the presentation. That's it. It should be super interactive, not just a 1-hour PowerPoint presentation where you're just telling them every single thing that you're going to do. So that's super boring, and they're not going to be engaged, and you're not going to close as many sales. Number 25, always get feedback. When we're in presentation mode, or when we're in sales mode, oftentimes it becomes a very one-way dialogue or not one-way dialogue, but a one-way monologue where we're just basically talking all the time. And instead, great presentations are constantly bringing the prospect back into the conversation. So when you're presenting something, you might ask a quick question like, yeah, does that make sense? And that way they come back into the conversation. So at least they're not in their head and they're like, yeah, that makes sense. By asking little questions, as we call feedback loops, you're keeping the prospect into that conversation. Does that make sense? Number 26, always be learning. My father has always told me that the day you stop learning is the day you die. And I believe that is completely true. I have spent my entire career trying to learn as often as possible. And that has put me in tremendous stead anytime I'm in a sales opportunity because I have learned so many things. And that's what we all have to do. We all have to challenge ourselves to always be learning, always be developing. And so make sure that every single day you're learning something new. You're doing something to learn just a new distinction when you're selling. Number 27, don't wing it. We must stop winging it. We must make a commitment to using a sales process. Now that could mean using our sales insights methodology, or you could be using any sales process, but make sure that you are not winging it and that you are using a proper sales process. So there are the 27 super quick tips to closing more sales right now. Also, if you got some value, please like this video below on YouTube. That means a lot. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking my face, which should be right about here, to get access to a new video just like this one each week.